Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of But Coffee First. Please take a moment to subscribe. We would love to have you here as a fellow coffee drinker, or if you drink anything else, hey, whatever. Those who are new, welcome. For those who are not, welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about travel. And this came up as I'm currently in the process of planning my international travel. And what I do personally prior to going anywhere, I do all my research about the location. And then when I'm in the midst of packing and getting everything together, I go back and look at that research. I go back and look at where I'm going, what I got planned, safety rankings, all of that jazz, just so that way I can rearrange my trip, do anything I need to do to ensure safety, and I come back home to my family. In the process of doing that, I came across a couple of articles related to recent US rankings on the safety of this country by other countries. And I will say my first impression when I saw the articles was thank God. Thank God in terms of thank you, media, our own media, for highlighting how other countries are feeling about being tourists here. With all of the recent mass shootings, the racial tensions, all of the things that we know for those who are citizens here exist, other countries are now stamping it. America's ghetto. Don't do it. Use extreme precaution. Canada, Mexico, our neighbors are like, you don't got to go if you don't have to. Don't do it. If you're going to go, be careful, check in with your embassy, do what you need to do to ensure your safety. And I found this enlightening or making me feel excited, not to wish bad on this country, but to say, I'm glad that we're getting the stamp. Like we get the stamp of we're nosy, we don't mind our business, we think we're the, God Almighty, but we think that our dollar reigns supreme, that people want to be here, people want to stay here, people want to be cross our borders and never leave. Where that might be true for some folks, but not all countries. People love to go back to where they came from. I know for me, I love traveling. I love having a good time. I love seeing other places and learning the culture, immersing myself in the culture, but I want to go home after a while. You know, I have not found a place yet that I want to be like, I love it. I want to stay here forever. I'm just a tourist. But what made me excited about the post was that we all know for any country, including this one, tourism and the tourism dollar has a huge impact on any economy. And when you start impacting tourism and people coming here, spending money here, it has a huge impact on people's pockets. Now, not until time it hits the lower class, low income quicker because those are the folks who are in those jobs. But it impacts big companies and big businesses. Imagine all these countries saying, don't come here, and Disney doesn't get the money that it needs to get. Disney's going to start ruffling feathers with politicians and lawmakers. Like there's going to be some shakeup, and it's going to be the shakeup this country needs. And do I think Disney's going to be impacted? No, Disney's all over the world. But it was just an example that when you start hitting pockets, people start getting their stuff in order. Things start to move at rapid rates that you've never seen happen before. So if more countries put pressure on this country to get its act together and become a place that's safe, every country has unsafe locations. Let's keep it real. But it's so unpredictable in this country right now where there's a mass shooting all over this country at any given time. It's so unpredictable. Even your safest neighborhoods, the neighbor that went crazy and started shooting up other people. It is just that unpredictable. It is so crazy. And we need the news. We need people to start labeling this place as what it is. It's ghetto. What further for me stood out as I was doing the research, and I had saw these articles and this new stuff months ago, like with the issues with Mexico and the safety concerns and being robbed and kidnapped. Then you saw in the news where a African American couple was held hostage for ransom in Haiti. It brings a bigger light for me as a Black woman in my own community. We as a community sometimes can be very ignorant. And by that is we truly think a lot of things don't apply to us. For example, we don't get COVID. We were hugely impacted during COVID. We don't get this, we don't get that, or they ain't looking for us, they don't want us. That is not true. When we go to these other countries and the accent that comes out of our mouth puts the label American on our foreheads, we are a target for whatever, whether it's to get money out of us, to harm us, to charm us, whatever, because somehow America equates dollars in some countries to people, which is crazy because we have this huge debt. And I don't know how people don't get past we broke, but somehow that's the image that we've casted. That's the impression we have left on these other countries. So we, as African-American people, we have to get out the mindset that these things don't apply to us. They very much do. You're an American when you leave somewhere else. They don't care if you're Black, Asian, white, whatever. As long as you sound like an American, you got an American passport, you're an American, and you're going to be treated as such. And that is what we need to be cautious about. And that's why I do the research. I know, example for me, I was in my 20s and one of my good friends was about to get married and they were planning a bachelorette party and they wanted to go to another country, not going to live in the country, that I personally know from research, know from people that have lived there, extremely unsafe. And for me, I'm like, hey, are we staying at a resort? Where are we going? What are we doing? When, how, where, who, what? Because I didn't get home to my kids and my family and my spouse. And I don't want to be someplace where I can't get home safely, or I don't want to be out on a tour and we have a Vicky man, we kidnapped and sold up with drugs in our stomach and we on the next flight bagged and tagged. Like, that's not what I'm looking for. And we weren't going in a small group, we were going in a large group. And some people think, oh, because you have large numbers, it makes a difference. It's 9 and 10 times you become a larger target. But for me, the issue that I had in that conversation of planning that event was simply that we weren't on a resort. We had to leave our hotel to do pretty much everything, thus putting us into the country more often than, and without safety precautions. What do our rides look like? Do we have a car service? Like, how are we transporting all these people in a safe manner without it being chaotic and somebody getting hurt or lost? And knowing that we're in a place that's dangerous and we are a target as Americans, what are we doing to create that safety? For me, I like a good resort. I like to do it all-inclusive if ever possible. So I know where my next meal is coming from. I can book services through that organization. I can hold this place accountable for me. Just staying someplace in a hotel and then having to coordinate all these other things in a place that you've never lived, 9 or 10 times, most of us don't speak the language. It is, to me, a recipe for a disaster. And no, I don't want to go into a space thinking of the worst, but I do need to be thinking about the possibilities and what harm could come to me and that I won't make it home to my children. And a lot of times we just book and we don't think about that. We just go and don't think about that. And all because we think certain things don't apply to us. And that's not true whatsoever. So please, if you're traveling, do your research, double check, triple check, make sure you're booking with reputable organizations, make sure that you are knowing where you're going to your best of your ability. If you have time, learn a little bit of the language. I tell myself that all the time, pick up some cue words, something you can understand, some way form of communicating, because that is the biggest detriment to us traveling is when you don't speak another language and you don't know what people are saying to you. You don't know what con scheme or whatever you're being roped into. And it can turn bad so quickly. And unfortunately, this is the world that we live in, that you just can't travel in peace. You can't just have a good time. It's just crazy. You get a drink. We've seen recent years past where there was a few deaths that were happening in Dominican Republic, and people like, well, what did they drink? What did they have? Like, drink, sip, don't drink. Like, taste it first to see, test it out. Make sure you're good. You have to lead with caution when you're in a evil world. And that's unfortunately what we are in right now, is in an evil space of this world where there's so much crime and negativity and people looking for the way to come up regardless of who they can get it from, you know. And for me, I've used YouTube, I've used blogs to try to get some information about places that I'm going to. I thoroughly appreciate the Black women who have traveled and Black men who have traveled alone to some of these countries and have provided their experiences, has opened my mind to traveling to places that I would never think of. I'm thankful for that because someone did it first and someone led with caution, but also did their research and took their time to investigate. And that is so needed right now. But I'm appreciating the news picking up what other countries are thinking about us, how they're telling people don't spend your money in this country, don't do this, don't do that when it comes to the US. And it's going to have a large impact on us. And it's sad but necessary for the simple fact of we have to learn the lesson. If we're not going to control guns in our country, we're not going to help the mentally ill, then other countries will do it for you. Just like we try to go in and regulate other places, it is the same vice versa. You cannot try to be the golden child and your mess is all on Front Street. So please, people, this is, it's getting warm. Summertime's coming. I know in the Northeast it's just turned into the 70s, 80s. People are traveling, things are happening, and people are trying to get out and have a good time. But please do it with caution, and really thoroughly do your research on where you're going. Even if you're traveling domestically, I still do the same thing. I still look at other states' information to know potentially where I should not be, where I should stay, and when I should not stay. And when people come to my state, I advise them, let's be honest here, because it's just the right thing to do. And it's not to harm or hurt anyone, but it's to simply put, like, let's look out for each other. Let's make a change. And the only way to do that is to impact the dollar. It's to impact how we get paid and what we get paid and what worth we put on that. And if it's worth it to save the tourism industry in this country, these lawmakers and politicians who don't want their stocks and bonds and all that jazz to go down, they're going to put the work in to hopefully change things around. But it's going to take countries like the 9 that CNN posted. Was it the Canada, Mexico, Australia, Israel, Germany? These countries are like, don't go if you don't have to. It makes a huge difference. So thank you all for letting me ramble on in this episode. Seriously, please, seriously, do your research. It's so important. Please be safe. And for my Black community, please take those mindsets that you may have picked up from someplace and reteach yourself that we too are targets. We too create this atmosphere of unsafety, and that we have to contribute somehow by making the change and being better and educating ourselves when traveling, and also how we handle our communities. So thank you for listening. Please subscribe and please leave a comment down below. I look forward to hearing your thoughts, and please have a safe summer.